Hello, hello, hello everybody! You know the drill. This is my October wrap-up, the books I read in October, what I loved, what I didn't love, everything into one. Let's get started. I need my laptop. 1 second. Now let's get started. As always, we're starting with the book that I liked the least, which in this month was I Kissed Shara Wheeler. I was super excited for this because I loved One Last Stop and I really loved Red, White, and Royal Blue. And this is by the same author. This reminded me so much of Paper Towns by John Green, which was a book that I also didn't like. And I think that's why I didn't really give it a chance. This book is about a girl who goes missing and she sets clues for her friends or for strangers. But they're all people that she's kissed. I don't know, maybe this is them finding her. I actually DNF'd this book because I couldn't care less. The problem that I had was that nobody knew Shara good enough. Like, nobody knew her. I didn't want to find her. I didn't care. I just didn't care about her. And I didn't care if anybody found her because I didn't know her. I had no connection with her. The main character, whose point of view we're like reading here, she doesn't know Shara, so nobody really knows her, and it's supposed to be like this mystery, but it just made me not care. I have to sneeze. Bless myself. Next up, we're gonna cover all of my 3-star reads for this month. Starting off with Hooked by Emily McIntyre. Now I can actually pronounce this. I read this in my 24-hour readathon thing that failed, so I'm not going to talk about it in too much detail. It's just that this book it wasn't for me. It was okay, it was good, like all those 3-star books are good. For me personally, it was just too much talking about like smut, basically. It was just too much for me. So if you're really into that, then that is for you. I enjoyed the brutality that was in this, like the murder. I enjoyed that this was the typical anti-hero, you know. Hi, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me. I enjoyed reading it, I had fun while reading it, but it's not gonna be like this incredible book that I read this month. Next book, that was a 3-star read. I just changed this actually. I had this as a 4-star read, but it just wouldn't cut it. Is The Scarlet Rose by Valia Lind. So the thing with this book is that it was also good. It was just a little boring. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It is the original story with Beauty having 2 sisters who are both very vain, and then her like wanting the rose, and her father grabs her the rose and then makes the deal with the Beast. This is exactly that. The prince was cursed. The thing that bothered me a little was that the Beast was this classic character. Like, he wasn't really complex in my ideal, so he was just this beast. Something happened to him and then he's angry about it. And what always bothers me about Beauty and the Beast is that the Beast isn't trying to help himself. He's weird, and I don't know how to describe it, but it bothered me in this one as well. It always bothers me in Beauty and the Beast, which is probably why Cinderella is my favorite fairy tale. What does that say about me? Okay, next book. So the next book is probably a very, very unpopular opinion around here, but It Starts With Us. This book was good. I can't say anything else. It was good, but it was just a mediocre book. I felt, and I've said this before on my Instagram, I felt like this was a very, very long bonus chapter. Like, somebody wrote a fan fiction about Lily and Atlas and put it in this book. That's what this is. It was alright. If I wasn't invested in it, and if I wasn't like, okay, I've read the first book, now I want to know what happens after, this would have been horrible. As a standalone, this book is useless. There's nothing really happening. Of course, there's like this transition from Lily being like a single mother and finding love again, which is sweet. But in my opinion, Atlas is a little too perfect. Like, he doesn't have edges. He had a sad life before, he has this horrible past, and somehow he makes it all work in his, like, new life. And it's a little boring, I'd say, because everything's, like, perfect. The problem is, I enjoyed the first book because it was different, you know? It wasn't necessarily this standard cliche love story. And this just was, and it was okay. You can read it if you're interested. I'm not gonna say don't read it, so pick it up. It's nice, it's good, but it didn't make me feel the feels. I want to feel the feels. I want them. Next book. The next and last 3-star book is Icebreaker. I experienced the similar stuff that I experienced with Hooked, so this was just a little too much for me. This is the classic hockey player, ice figure skater romance plot between Anastasia and Nathan. I think the main sentence that describes Nathan the best is what he always says, which is, be a good girl, and such a good girl. And he's like, this whole praising thing is making me feel super, super uncomfortable. And there's like a smut scene with other people in a car that made me want to scream and run away from the book. Like, if I was in this cab, I would run and leave the cab. Maybe that is just me. If that is what you're looking for, this is it. So always with the cutesy covers that look super innocent, but aren't. I think that's actually what makes like the super innocent reader cliche, because this book isn't innocent. Let me demonstrate. I won't demonstrate. I feel super uncomfortable. But look at all these pink post-its. I think that says everything. I wasn't a fan. It was just too much. But the romance was so cute that I like put all the smut aside and I just jumped over that, and I read it for the romance, and that was very sweet. So I have mixed opinions. Now we're getting to all of the books that I really, really enjoyed, which are my 4-star reads, which are books that you should definitely pick up. They were missing like this much, you know? So first up, books that I really, really enjoyed were these two. I'm going to talk about them together because they're Nick and Charlie and This Winter, which are both of the Heartstopper novellas. These were incredible. These were making me very fuzzy, very warm. Nick and Charlie is the story after the 4th book, like the 4th Heartstopper book, where Nick is going off to college, but Charlie is still 1 year younger, so he has to do 1 year of school. And this is just the struggle that comes with that, and the struggle of how we're going to keep our relationship alive, which felt really natural and which felt like a really natural problem for them. And this made me cry so much. Nick and Charlie are like, they're in my heart. I love them to bits and pieces, and if anybody of them, like if Charlie cries, I will cry. And spoiler alert, Charlie cries. So I cried. This Winter is about like a winter when Charlie is younger, like when he's 15, when he just started dating Nick. This is not out of Nick's POV. This is out of Charlie's POV, as well as Oliver's, so Charlie's like younger brother, and Tori's POV, so Charlie's older sister. So each of them have like 1/3 of the book. And it's actually kind of nice to see what Oliver, who's like still a kid, thinks about everything and how he feels about it. And it's kind of sweet because this evolves a lot about Charlie's mental health issues. That if you don't know, Charlie struggles a lot with anorexia, which is very, very relatable for me because I struggle with it still. And it's beautiful to see. And it's also about like his sexuality and his family, who still don't really understand some things and who treat him differently. And these are incredible. These are beautiful. Next up, we have The Golden Slipper by Valia Lind. This is the 2nd book in the Skarsgård fairy tale collection. So this is really the original Cinderella, where she goes to 3 different balls and she dances with the prince each night, and on the last night she loses her slipper. This is this, but with magic. And that's what I thought was very unique about it and very fun about it. So in this one, Cinderella wasn't the damsel in distress, which I found refreshing, and that's why I liked it so much. That's why this is a 4-star read for me. But I actually talked about this a lot more in my 24-hour reading vlog thing, so you can check that out. The next book is Girl Crush by Florence Given. I talked about this book in my London vlog, I think. I talked about a lot of these books already, but I'm going to talk about this again because when I first started reading this, I was like, okay, this is going to be like your classical queer romance story, because this is about a girl who figures out that she's bisexual and who then starts making like YouTube videos. She starts to have this huge influx of people and starts to be like an influencer, and it all happens like overnight. And this is just the world of her influencer life and how she copes with it, how fame makes her feel, and all of the mental struggles that come with this. So the only reason this is not a 5-star read for me, because I remember this very, very well and I loved it, is that I didn't like the ending. I'm not going to tell you what the ending is, obviously, but it wasn't my favorite. It was good, and it was like a memorable ending in a sense that it made sense. It was good for her. It was like good as like a character development ending. It just made sense. But I didn't like it. I would have wished for a different ending, especially for the main character, because I think she deserves a different ending. Yeah. But this was really cool. Last 4-star read for this month is The Witch Haven. So I talked about this in my 24-hour book reading challenge as well, so check that out. The magical concept in this was incredible, and I was always on my toes hoping to figure out what happened next. This whole story with her finding out what happened to her brother, I think, is very sweet, and I feel like the main character is a very strong female character that struggles a lot and is easily manipulated. It's not that she is necessarily extremely naive, but it just feels very natural that she comes into this new world and she wants to trust people and she doesn't know who to trust. And that is usually something that freaks me out a lot, because I want to trust people super easily, especially in books, and with this it's just not possible, and you're always like, okay, what's wrong with you? Because every character that she meets, like the main character meets, they have some sort of problem. Like something is off about everybody, and yeah, this is great, this is good, this is a perfect Halloween read. I know Halloween is over, I know this because today is my birthday, so it's November 4th. But if you feel like you need a dose of Halloween spirit, read The Witch Haven. Moving on to my 5-star reads, we got Mindwalker by Kate Dillon. This was great. This was the first pure sci-fi book that I've read in forever. I talked about this in my London vlog as well, because this was the first book that I read when I went to London, because this was just beautiful and I had to pick it up. But this is sort of this futuristic world where there's mindwalkers, and they can just jump into people's minds and hijack their brains and complete missions for the other person if they are about to fail. And this is just about some sort of rebellion against this whole mindwalker thing, because the mindwalkers die very, very fast. This is giving me a lot of 2015 sci-fi vibes, dystopian vibes, in the sense of the Hunger Games or the Divergent, in the good sense. We don't talk about the last Divergent book, we just don't, but it's giving me the same feeling. Plot-wise it's completely different, but it's giving me the same feeling, and I really enjoyed that, because 2015 was 2014 was a good reading year, so I felt this. I love this. Next up, we got A Taste of Golden Iron by Alexandra Rowland. I really, really enjoyed this. This book just, it gave me a similar feeling as The Priory of the Orange Tree did, which is amazing because that is my all-time favorite book right now. And this is getting really, really close to this. This is also like a huge like world, but it's more of a like eastern sort of desert world with like a sultan and stuff. And I really enjoyed this. This is the story of the second born royal, so the prince, and he is always in his sister's shadow, but that's okay for him, and he lives with it, he deals with it, and he does have a lot of mental struggles, which I think this book just captures the essence of like having panic attacks, being insecure about yourself, wanting to be helpful but just not really figuring out how. I also loved all the relationships that are in this. I loved the friendship dynamics. I loved the way that this main character was just really strong. I loved the romance. This is like a queer romance of like two guys, and this is sort of like the bodyguard trope, but different, and it was great. I gotta be quiet. My roommates are in the hallway. The last book and my favorite book of this month, like my monthly highlight, was Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. This book was perfection to me. If you don't know Cemetery Boys, I know there was like a big hype about it, but I don't think like it was the biggest hype. Like I saw it like a while ago and I picked it up and I was like, okay, I'm finally gonna read it like for Halloween. And a friend of mine always said like, hey, have you read it already? And I was like, no. So I just picked it up. Sorry for all the rambling. This is about a transgender boy who struggles a lot, not with his identity, he knows who he is, but with being accepted by society and his family. The romance in this is just, it's beautiful. It's perfect. I did already talk about this book in my 24-hour reading vlog thing, so you can check that out for like more information on it. But this is basically to do with like ghosts and like magic, graveyards, all that stuff. And like someone in his family is a traitor and it's all coming all together into one big thing. And this is a very fast book, so you can read this very fast. But I enjoyed this. This was really good. Of course it was really good. It was groundbreaking, as Entertainment Weekly says. I'm sorry, I'm just talking nonsense at this point. And that was it. That were all the books that I read last month in October. I am now going to go to the store and grab some stuff for raclette. Do you guys make raclette? Is that a thing? Is that even what it's called? Because in German it's called raclette. I'm gonna Google this. Hold on. Apparently it's also called raclette in English, but it's this, I think it's by the Swiss. The Swiss invented it, but it's this big thing where you put little pans and then you make your own food, because that's what we're doing, because it's my birthday and it's my roommate's birthday, so we're gonna be celebrating this together, and there's gonna be cake and I'm excited, and my grandma's about to call me, and I will see you the next time. Have a nice day. Goodbye. This was just this whole video was just this very chaotic energy, and I'm happy about this actually. I liked it.